Have you ever been told to just move on or get over it after something traumatic happened to you? If you have, then you probably know it's not as simple as that. Trauma isn't just a bad memory that we can push aside. Trauma changes you deeply, and it's not something that fades naturally with time. It's much deeper, affecting both our mind and body in ways we might not even fully understand. Trauma isn't something you can just get over, and why it's important to understand what happens in your brain and body when you experience it. Trauma is more than just the event itself. It's about the long-lasting effects it has on your mind and body. So why is it so hard to move past trauma? To understand that, we need to look at what happens to our brain and body when we go through something that overwhelms us. Trauma can happen after a life-threatening event like an accident or assault, but it can also result from long-term stress, like being in an abusive environment, neglect, or even societal pressures. It happens when something shatters our sense of safety or how we see the world. It's also important to remember that trauma is different for each person. What might be traumatic for one person might not be for someone else, depending on their background, support system, or even how their brain reacts to stress. When trauma hits, several parts of the brain are affected. The amygdala, which controls our fear response, becomes overly active. This makes the brain stay in a constant state of alertness. That's why people with trauma often feel anxious or uneasy, even when there's no immediate danger. Their brain is always scanning for potential threats, which makes it hard to relax or feel safe. The hippocampus, which helps us form and recall memories, is also impacted. It can actually shrink in response to trauma, which makes it harder to store and access memories. That's why traumatic memories often feel jumbled, or why they come back as flashbacks or nightmares. Traumatic memories don't get processed like other memories. They tend to get stuck and resurface unexpectedly. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, controlling impulses, and thinking clearly, also experiences less activity in trauma survivors. This makes it harder for people to regulate their emotions, concentrate, or make good decisions, especially in stressful situations. But trauma doesn't only affect the mind, it also affects the body. When we experience trauma, our body activates the fight, flight, or freeze response. This is our natural survival instinct. The body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which prepare us to fight, run, or freeze in response to danger. For those who've experienced trauma, this response doesn't always shut off when the danger is gone. Their bodies stay on high alert, even when there's no immediate threat. This is why trauma can feel like it's physically stored in the body. The constant release of stress hormones can lead to symptoms like muscle tension, chronic pain, digestive issues, and exhaustion. Many trauma survivors report feeling drained, tense, or stuck in a never-ending cycle of stress. Trauma changes your brain and body in ways that are hard to reverse without targeted interventions. But the concept of neuroplasticity offers hope. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to form new neural connections. In the late 1990s, we still believed that the brain was largely fixed and unchangeable. How depressing is that? It's only been in the last 25 years that the concept of neuroplasticity has been fleshed out with advances in neuroimaging, and now it's fundamental to our understanding of how the brain works. So the ability to change the brain can go both ways. Trauma can create maladaptive pathways and shrink brain regions, but there are several treatment approaches that can allow for healing the brain from trauma through adaptive rewiring. Let's look at some evidence-based therapies for trauma. One such therapy is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR. EMDR is a therapy that involves processing traumatic memories by stimuli eating both sides of your brain, usually through guided eye movements. This process helps to rewire the brain's response to traumatic memories by reducing their emotional intensity. It allows the brain to reintegrate the memories without the same emotional overwhelm. Another highly effective method is trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy. This CBT works by helping you identify and change unhelpful thought patterns and behaviors associated with your trauma. Trauma-focused CBT includes exposure therapy, where you gradually face the trauma, memories, or situations in a controlled and safe manner. This gradual exposure desensitizes you to the experiences that trigger anxiety, and your anxiety reduces over time. Somatic therapies are also gaining recognition in trauma treatment. Unlike therapies that mainly focus on thoughts and emotions, somatic therapies focus on the body. Techniques like somatic experiencing and sensory motor psychotherapy work on the premise that trauma is stored not just in the mind, but in your body's nervous system. And these therapies involve tuning into physical sensations in the body to release stored tension and calm the body's stress response. These therapies help restore a sense of safety and physical self-awareness, allowing trauma survivors to reconnect with their bodies in a healthier, more integrated way. This outcome is called embodiment and is an important aspect of trauma recovery because being able to tune into and understand your bodily sensations helps with recognizing and managing emotional responses to stress. I know that's a lot. Let me say that again. In order to manage your emotional and physical stress response, you need to get good at being able to tune into your body's sensations and reactions. Yoga has been shown to help release tension held in the body and promote relaxation. Trauma-informed yoga in particular focuses on creating a safe space for participants, allowing them to reconnect with their bodies and regain a sense of control. Similarly, breathing exercises like deep breathing or diaphragmatic breathing can calm the nervous system, reduce the body's stress response, and promote healing. Another key part of trauma recovery is practicing self-compassion. Healing from trauma isn't a straight path. There will be good days and bad days. It's important to be kind to yourself instead of being critical. Self-compassion means recognizing that suffering is part of being human and treating yourself with the same care and understanding you would give a loved one. Research shows that self-compassion can help reduce the negative effects of trauma by building emotional resilience and easing feelings of shame or self-blame. Simple practices like journaling, spending time in nature, or exploring creative outlets can support your healing journey. Journaling, for example, offers a way to express and release tough emotions. Nature walks can be calming, grounding, and help soothe the nervous system. By combining therapies that are backed by research with mind-body practices and self-compassion, trauma survivors have many tools to help them heal. Trauma is a complex experience that needs a thoughtful approach to recovery. But the good news is that with the right support, it's possible to rewire your brain and body toward healing and resilience. If this video helped you understand trauma a little better, or if you just enjoyed listening to me talk, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again.